When Japan attacked the wrong target. The Pearl Harbor miscalculation. One brilliant surprise attack that guaranteed defeat. December 7th, 1941, Japan believed it was delivering the knockout punch that would cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet. Spoiler alert, it woke a sleeping giant and handed it a shotgun. The big idea. In 1941, Japan decided it was done being polite. The empire was hungry for oil, steel, rubber, glory, and it had convinced itself the world was standing in the way. The United States, sitting thousands of miles away, was the biggest annoyance of all. Sanctions, speeches, moral outrage. America was acting like the responsible adult in a room full of pyromaniacs, and Japan hated it. So the generals gathered, maps spread across the table like a gambler's deck. The pitch was bold. Hit America first, hit them hard, and they'll crawl to the peace table. It sounded clever. So did the Titanic's maiden voyage. Admiral Yamamoto, the guy actually capable of math, warned them it would work for about 6 months, and then they'd be crushed under America's factories. But the War Cabinet didn't want reason. They wanted fireworks. So Pearl Harbor was born. 6 aircraft carriers for 100 planes and enough arrogance to fill the Pacific. A surprise attack, they said, will end the war before it begins. The irony? They were half right. It did end something, just not the war. The morning everything went wrong. Right, December 7th, Hawaii woke up to sunshine and torpedoes. Japanese planes swooped in low, engines howling, pilots screaming Tora, 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 the code for we got them sleeping. Battleships burned, sailors dove into oil-black water, and the sky filled with smoke thick enough to choke the horizon. In Tokyo, champagne popped. They had done it. The impossible. The empire's enemies lay shattered. The newspapers rolled out headlines about divine victory. Radio Tokyo blasted songs about destiny. Everyone smiled, except Yamamoto, who probably looked like a man watching his house burn down after winning a lighter. Because even amid the chaos, one fact loomed like an uninvited guest. The American aircraft carriers, the real backbone of the U.S. Navy, weren't even there. They'd left days before. Japan had thrown its entire military genius at the wrong target. They destroyed yesterday's fleet, while tomorrow's fleet was already loading bombs. But who cared? Tokyo was drunk on victory. The empire had its glory. The emperor had his headlines. And America had just gotten a reason to turn every factory into a weapon. The genius of losing on purpose. Japan didn't attack because it was strong. It attacked because it was cornered. The country was running out of oil. Its soldiers were spread across Asia, and the U.S. had slammed the resource doors shut. So, what do you do when you're desperate? You start a fight with someone who can build a car faster than you can reload a rifle. The plan wasn't just suicidal. It was poetic. Japan's leaders convinced themselves that Americans were too soft. A nation of movie watchers, they said. They thought a few thousand deaths would make the U.S. beg for peace. Instead, it made them build bombers faster than Japan could print propaganda. While Tokyo paraded its heroes, America quietly shifted gears. Detroit stopped making Buicks and started making tanks. Boeing replaced crop dusters with B-17s. And the factories that once made toys for kids were now making bullets for revenge. Japan had awoken a nation with bottomless pockets and endless patience. If wars were poker, Japan had gone all in with monopoly money. Midway, the universe cashes the check. Fast forward 6 months. The empire's luck was about to expire, right on schedule. June 1942, Midway Atoll. Japan's navy sailed in, confident, cocky, convinced their divine warriors couldn't lose. They didn't realize their secret codes had been cracked like a cheap lock. The Americans were waiting, hiding behind the horizon, grinning like sharks. When the bombs fell, Japan's dream of invincibility went down with it. For carriers gone, their best pilots gone, the pride of the empire, sinking, burning, screaming. Yamamoto's prophecy echoed across the waves. 6 months of success, then disaster. He'd been right. The emperor's miracle fleet was now a coral reef. And back home, The propaganda machine tried its best. Tactical withdrawal, they called it. Sure, just like falling off a cliff is a tactical descent. The empire that claimed it could never be defeated had just lost the Pacific steering wheel, and America wasn't planning to give it back. The Empire of Denial. By 1943, Japan's empire looked glorious only on paper maps. In reality, its soldiers were starving, its ships were rusting, and its cities were waiting for fire to fall from the sky. The government, trapped in its own lies, doubled down on spirit. Spirit will defeat steel, they shouted. Unfortunately, spirit doesn't refuel planes or stop B-29 bombers. Commanders invented creative ways to lose with style. Kamikaze attacks, bonsai charges, suicide dives dressed as honor. Every defeat became heroic resistance. Every retreat was strategic patience. The empire's military was now a theater troupe performing a tragedy it didn't know how to end. The civilians suffered the most. Cities turned to ash. Rice turned to dust. Families prayed to gods who had long stopped listening. All because men in silk uniforms couldn't admit that their perfect strike had detonated their own future. The wake-up call that leveled cities. The empire still clung to pride. Even as its navy was gone, its army scattered, its emperor sheltered under bombed-out palaces. Then came Hiroshima, then Nagasaki. Two flashes of light that ended a generation of delusion in a single week. When Japan finally surrendered, it wasn't out of honor, it was out of exhaustion. The country that had wanted to secure resources had destroyed every one of them. The plan that was supposed to make Japan untouchable had made it radioactive instead. History calls Pearl Harbor the day that changed the world. Sure, just not in the way Japan hoped. It turned the empire's greatest triumph into its loudest punchline. They attacked to win the Pacific. Instead, they taught the world a new rule of war. Never confuse a surprise attack with a smart decision. Because somewhere out there, a sleeping giant is always waiting, and he wakes up angry.